Indiana fans have been asking for it, and the Hoosiers delivered. They get a starting offensive lineman out of the transfer portal from Notre Dame.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into this, the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. This is a bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers, and we are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You've been asking for it, and Indiana gets it done. We've picked up a starting offensive lineman. One of the top transfers in the country is coming to Bloomington. 6'5", 310 pounds. Pat Coogan is coming to Indiana. Coog is what they call him, and I have a feeling we're going to hear that name chanted quite a bit when he gets to campus this time next year. I want to thank you so much for being here and making Indiana Locked On Hoosiers your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. This is a bonus episode. We post daily episodes Monday through Friday, 25, 30 minutes long, free to you every single day, but this is one of those bonus episodes when breaking news happens just like this. Pat Coogan coming from Notre Dame to Indiana. And this has been in the works for a little bit, right? This is one that Indiana was going after, him and his counterpart, which we'll talk about in just a second. But Pat Coogan was one of the top transfers in the country. And Indiana jumped on this advantage and this opportunity, right? Where Notre Dame was one of those teams that made it obviously deep into the college football playoff. Heck, they played for a national championship. And so they had select guys enter the portal as they were making their run. And then once the season was over, and Indiana jumped on this chance to go and get a late prospect, right? A late addition to the portal, and now gets to make a late addition to the roster. I told you he's 6'5", 310 pounds. The dude is massive and played a huge role on that Notre Dame offensive line, which was one of the best units in 2023 and was one of the best running units in 2024. He was a main factor for them having a 1,000-yard rusher, a 900-yard rusher, and a 700-yard rusher did Notre Dame this past season. They also put up nearly 400 yards a game offensively, thanks to guys like Riley Leonard, Jeremiah Love, and it starts with the big boys up front, like Pat Coogan, who has left Notre Dame and has committed to Indiana. And we were waiting on this to kind of happen because he had some visits set. He came to Indiana, had other visits set up as well, possibly supposed to go to Ann Arbor, but Indiana gets it done. He commits to the Hoosiers. He will step in, and it goes without saying, he will start on this offensive line immediately. And it's one that we had to have, right? Indiana needed offensive lineman. He's a guy that played well against Indiana. He's somebody that started in 2023, didn't start in 24 early on, and then finished out in the last 13 games for the Fighting Irish. And for this Indiana team, where did we struggle? With the offensive line. Notre Dame ate us alive. Ohio State ate us alive. We just couldn't get the protection for Curtis Rourke, for our running backs, had no time, no space, and no execution because our offensive line was just outmanned. They were outpowered. They were outstrength. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And we loved our offensive line. They played really good all season long. But in those two big games, we saw the talent difference. We saw the separation. We saw the skill gap between what teams like Notre Dame and Ohio State have versus what we had. Now you're starting to get some of those guys from those schools to your campus, and Pat Coogan is one of those. I mean, he is one of the best transfers in the class, and he's definitely one of the best offensive linemen in the country. Left Notre Dame for whatever reason, doesn't really matter. He's now going to be in Bloomington, where we had some turnover, but we also had a lot of rookies. I mean, several freshmen are coming into this offensive line, which none of them you were wanting to have to rely on, right? If they step up and they make plays and they want to get in the rotation, or they earn their way in the rotation, that's fine. That's cool. But you don't want to rely on that if you're the Hoosiers. And so you take a look now at where Indiana stands in terms of our offensive lineman count. This is now 15 linemen. You have 3 coming through the portal. You bring Vinny back. You bring Drew Evans back, Carter Smith as well, some older seniors and juniors. And let's count them here. 2, 4, 6, 7 freshmen will be on your roster for the offensive line. You just didn't have a whole lot of depth in terms of experience in the offensive line room. And so Pat Coogan brings that to you. And this means you now have a legitimate power 4 starter on your offensive line for Indiana. And that works really well for your brand new quarterback, Mendoza, for your new stacked running back room, for your receivers that are coming back, plus the ones you bring in through the portal. Indiana's offense is starting to get built. It's starting to shape out really, really well. And the Hoosiers may not be done, because as great as this portal addition is, one of the best ones we've made in the entire offseason, more could be on the way. You pick up one Notre Dame lineman. How about another? We got a few updates on that. Tell you what this means and what that could mean as well. And we continue right here on this bonus edition of Locked On Hoosiers. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to make it even more exciting than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings awarded, Prize Picks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 players' projections, and if you're right, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. Prize Picks even has a free pick for the big game where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw for 1 yard for you to win. Pair that with one more correct pick, and you're cashing out big. This week, I'm looking at the board, selecting more for Travis Kelce on receiving yards and more for quarterbacks passing yardage. What I love most, fast, safe withdrawals. When I win, my cash is in my account in as little as 15 minutes. You can't beat that, only on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Locked On College for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's time to run your game. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. 1 game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with the FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field. And the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, yeah, that's pretty awesome with FanDuel. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5. And if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. Welcome back into this bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here. If you're here because you had your notifications on, I appreciate that. And I told you we do it. I told you we put out bonus content with breaking news, reactions. Who knew that on Indiana-Purdue Day, for Indiana and Purdue basketball to be playing as of this recording in about an hour, that the biggest news could possibly be on the football side of things, as Indiana and head coach Curt Cignetti land Pat Coogan from Notre Dame to be a starter on the offensive line. But as we always do, as exciting as this is, we always ask what's next. What's coming? Is there more down the line for this Indiana team? Well, there's 2 Notre Dame offensive linemen that we've been going after. Pat Coogan, of course, was the first, and Rocco Spindler is the other one that the Hoosiers have been going after. Now, it's interesting because these 2 guys played together. They were teammates in both on the offensive line, but they were visiting similar places just at different times. Spindler had already been visiting and has places to go, and he has places like Virginia and places like Michigan and so many others. That Nebraska is a big one that he's really been a part of. There were some reports, and I'm pretty sure it's true, that he actually enrolled at Nebraska, but he had to do that in case he wanted to go there. Doesn't mean he is. He just had to do it for a precaution, basically. And so these both were visiting. They have already visited. Indiana lands Pat Coogan, and now you have the opportunity to land Rocco Spindler, who is an incredible player as well. He's so talented, both of them on the offensive line. You could possibly land 2 starters on the offensive front. This guy's 6'5", 325, 2 6'5" guys on the offense. Indiana's never seen that before, not consistently anyway, not at the same time, and not for 2 guys that have already proven themselves at the Power 4 level. I felt really good about Coogan, and that has come to fruition. I think Indiana's still right there with Spindler. And as of this recording, this being posted, there is no news on him yet, except making several visits to Nebraska, Indiana, Virginia, places like that. If Indiana could make this happen, if they could pull this off, where you pull 2 starting offensive linemen off of a national runner-up team from Notre Dame, a team that dominated you in the college football playoff, that may be the greatest feat of all time here at Indiana. And that's just coming off of winning or getting to the college football playoff. These could be 2 of your most important transfer additions, even though you pull in a starting quarterback, a running back in the rotation, several starters on the defensive side of the football. I think Coogan is already a top 5, top 3 transfer portal addition for you if you're Indiana. But the bonus of adding Spindler, if you pull that off, could make that both of them be inside that top 3 with Mendoza sitting in there as well. We'll see how this goes. I feel good about it. And you have everything to sell if you're Indiana. Come play with your teammate. Come play with your brother. You guys can play together on the offensive line and bring Indiana up where they needed to be. You can literally show them evidence. They saw it firsthand on how Indiana needs help on the offensive line. Will it happen? I don't know. Only time will tell. But what we do know is that Indiana has landed the commitment of Pat Coogan, the transfer lineman from Notre Dame. It's been asked about. It's been begged for by this Indiana fan base. And Curt Cignetti got it done. And Indiana lands one of the best transfers in this class from Notre Dame. Well, that's going to do it for today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. Cannot express enough how much fun we're having here, how awesome it is to cover Indiana football, Indiana basketball, various other Indiana things as well. If this is your first time here, or you're just coming back for the second, third, fourth time, be sure, if you haven't already, on the YouTube side, like the video. That gets it out there, lets other people find it. Comment your thoughts down below on Indiana landing Pat Coogan and your confidence in them landing Spindler as well. We're 1 for 2. Can we go, well, technically we're 1 for 1. Can we go 1 for 2 or 2 for 2 with landing both Notre Dame transfers? Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments down below, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We just surpassed 4,500 subs. We're on our way to 5K, and I would love for you to be a part of that. And if you're on audio, follow us there. Leave us that 5-star review. Turn your notifications on so you never miss bonus episodes just like this one. We'll have a basketball review coming up for you later on as Indiana takes on Purdue. If that's already happened and you're seeing this, hopefully the Hoosiers won. We'll see how it goes. Bonus episode for that as well, and regular episode back up on Monday. Until next time, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.